What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guy Derek with you. Joining me, my guy Drake from the Horseshoe Huddle. Man, I had to bring him on here because y'all are seeing the title of this video. You know what's about to go down. But Drake, I got to ask you first, man. You got to give me your overall thoughts on this game against the Raiders and how you're feeling about the Colts.
Well, I had an opportunity to go to the game, and I think, look, it's a win. All right, it's a big win. It's a win against a team that just absolutely backhanded the Chiefs. Okay, I mean, this was a team that did their thing defensively. They did their thing in the ground game against the Chiefs. Aiden O'Connell had 62 passing yards, which that right there told me if this Colts defense can even do anything to slow him down, slow this ground attack down, they could have a chance to win this game, and they did it. But I think the way I feel about the Colts team is defensively, I'm a little bit unsure. They didn't have Kenny Moore, which changes a lot of stuff, and we'll get into how that changed in this game. Devontae Adams had a fantastic game, but at the end of the day, man, this is a team that's overshooting their expectations. They're playing better than their talent level should be playing. I think that me, Cody as well, a bunch of people, Horseshoe Huddle, everybody had this team as like a 6-7 win team with Anthony Richardson, and now you've got 9 freaking wins. Okay, so you legitimately have overshot your expectations. You've had over 2 times the wins from last year. They're doing way better than anyone thought. But I am a little concerned about the defense. But you know what? They're in control right now. They're close to the playoffs. They're 1 win away, and they got a huge win against a team, like I said, that just beat Patrick Mahomes. So you got to give them credit.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, like I said, guys, if you want to talk, if you want to hear about our thoughts on the Colts game, make sure to go check out the video of the recap. But yeah, I think before we hop into the video at hand here, man, I mean, that you said it right. I mean, Shane Steichen, first year head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts have 9 wins on the season. Shane Steichen starts his head coaching career with a winning season, regardless of what happens against Houston next week. And so, yeah, you have a winning season. You've defied the expectations of the team, and you've done a lot for this organization. I mean, talk to me for a second about what Shane Steichen has meant for the Colts this year, and how the job's obviously not done, but I mean, what we can take away from this Colts team, who was one of the worst teams in football last year, to being one of the best this year.
I think what you could take away from it is that there's a culture that is legitimate. I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't understand what the hell Shane Steichen wants. Okay, I mean, given the events that have unfolded this season, given the departure of Shaq Leonard, okay, the issues with certain players throughout the year with guys like Isaiah McKenzie, Tony Brown, and another one that we don't really need to talk about right now. It's not really relevant anymore. But Shane Steichen has accountability. All right, Derek, and I really think that this is a team that when Jeff Saturday was hired last year, everyone laughed at that. I remember laughing at it. I remember writing articles about how ridiculous that hire was. I think that Jim Irsay wanted and knew that that was not a long-term solution. He wanted a guy who was going to come in there and at least start the process of reestablishing the culture that made them great. And I think that that's led to Shane Steichen's hiring. And I think that Shane Steichen's taken that and ran with it, and he's made it his own. Give him a lot of credit. Okay, this is a team that really, like you and I talked about before the show, especially removing Anthony Richardson from the situation. This is a 6-win team. This is a 5, 6, 7-win team. They've got 9 wins. They're in the playoffs right now. Okay, which if they make the playoffs, just blow the hatches off the doors, man. Nobody expected that to happen, even with Richardson. Now remove him and put in a much more limited quarterback like Minshew. I think Shane Steichen deserves a lot of credit. His staff deserves a lot of credit. I know that Gus Bradley's caught a lot of flack. Look, this is the team that broke the Indianapolis era sack record. Okay, they've got over 46 sacks in the season. We're talking Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis days. Okay, so there's a lot of credit to be thrown around here, but man, just like the blame has to go to the coach, the credit, in my opinion, also needs to go to the coach. Shane Steichen has come in here and he's done wonders, and he really should be one of the candidates for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. You think You think he should win Coach of the Year, or you think it's ultimately gonna come down to which of the two guys win next week? Is that gonna be it?
Boy, oh boy. The thing is, obviously D'Amico Ryan and Shane Steichen stick out to guys like us,
Yeah.
with what they've been able to do. Kevin Stefanski. All right. I know that the Browns have had 4 starting quarterbacks. Here's Joe Flacco looking like his 2012 self again. There's the AFC's chock full of fantastic coaches. All right. They just really are. And even a guy like Mike Vrabel, who's had to deal with so much garbage in Tennessee this year. I know that they're not winning, but he's a former coach of the year. I mean, you've got some real talent. But yes, Shane Steichen absolutely needs to be considered. Look at this team last year, man. They were just in shambles. This year, they've dealt with a lot of drama, too. And going all the way back when we were talking about JT's contract issues to the recent developments that have happened with some of the roster positions, Shane Steichen went out there after a ridiculous Friday night where you get one of your tight ends or one of your tight ends gets arrested for a domestic dispute, and you go out there and you win against a team who just beat Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead Stadium. You kept your players mentally level-headed. Okay, that is impressive. That's absolutely ridiculous. I was concerned given that news because that was a guy that was close to some of these players, and he went out there and won. So yes, I think Shane Steichen, regardless of if he wins Coach of the Year or not, man, you can't help but be excited, obviously, for if he can make the playoffs. But man, you're not anything but human if you aren't pumped for what he can do with Anthony Richardson in 2024.
Yep. And now we're at the point where Indianapolis Colts, they now control their own destiny. That's right, folks. The Indianapolis Colts control their own destiny
They do.
because after the win today, there was a couple things that needed to happen in order for Indy to guarantee a playoff spot. And one of those things was you needed the Cincinnati Bengals to lose one of their last 2 matchups. And of course, after their loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals have now been removed from playoff contention, and the Broncos have been removed from playoff contention as well, even despite the win over the Chargers. Did not matter at all for them. And the only way that the Colts don't make it at this point is if they lose to the Texans. Now, of course, if the Steelers had won out, then the Bengals stuff wouldn't have mattered. But now, with the Bengals losing, it is officially win and you're in. It's basically how it is. We've had that mentality now, Drake, for pretty much about a month now at this point. If you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, just winning, you're in, man. That's pretty much it. I mean, how good does it feel to know that there's nothing to hold you, there's nothing else you have to think about other than beat the team in front of you and you are in the big dance?
I think that it's got to give you a lot of confidence. Now, obviously, you didn't want to have a final, game where it's like you win and you get in. You kind of wanted you definitely wanted the Panthers to win their game. You definitely wanted the Jaguars to not win. Okay. But those 2 things did not work out. Okay. Obviously, even a CJ Beathard led Jaguars team was still better than the Carolina Panthers, which, good God, everyone pray for Bryce Young, please.
Yeah.
But look, man, this is a team that is just different. They haven't missed a beat. Again, they lost their starting quarterback. Again, they have had a lot of drama still. All right. They've had off field issues, which you can't. I'm so sick of people blaming Chris Ballard for that. Look, man, it's the player that makes that decision. You can't forecast an issue like what we saw with Drew Ogletree. Okay. So I really think that given the state of where they're at with their playoff hopes, they have to go out there and they have to take control of the Houston Texans now. And I fully expect that game to get bumped. I fully expect that to be a 4 o'clock or even an 8 o'clock game, because if the Texans lose, they're out. If the Colts lose, they're out. So it's a real high stakes game, possibly the most important of the year. But we're talking about the Raiders game here. And I think that the Colts, especially after going out there and getting absolutely just destroyed by the Falcons, for them to do this and come back and play a game that really was on paper bad for them. Gardner Minshew was probably going to get sacked by the Raiders 5 or 6 times. The Colts did their job, and they ran the ball well. Gardner Minshew distributed the ball well. Michael Pittman was back. The tight ends played well. Jonathan Taylor played well. Look, man, this team played well, and holy cow, was it nice to have Braden Smith back, because Max Crosby posted a big old 0 in the sacks, and I think a lot of that was due to Braden Smith, because him and Crosby went head to head a lot. You put Blake Freeland on Max Crosby, he might have a Trey Hendrickson type of day with like 2 or 3 sacks. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
100%. It definitely came very big handy today. Having Braden Smith and Michael Pittman back today definitely were both very key attributions to this offense being able to do what it needed to do. And it's crazy too, because after this win, there is absolutely still a chance that Indianapolis could still take the division, which is even funnier to think about. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they got to play the Tennessee Titans, granted, I get it, but you know how it is, Drake. These divisional games, a lot of times, can be crazy. And I know that the Texans just got done mollywhopping the Tennessee Titans. I get that completely. But you never know how it is against these teams. Some teams they sometimes these divisional games, and again with the Tennessee Titans, I mean they have nothing to lose versus the Jacksonville Jaguars have everything to lose. So there's always a chance for Indianapolis to take that division. But what do you think Shane Steichen's message is for the Indianapolis Colts going into this week, knowing what's at stake this week?
Oh man, knowing Shane Steichen, and when you ask this man a question, it's like you just don't get much. He's a very straight shooter, very condensed type of guy. He doesn't really like to give you a lot, but I think his message is simple. Don't change a thing. All right. Stay focused. All right. Play Colts football, because I don't know. I think, did they even, real quick, actually, did they give a designation to why Kenny Moore didn't play, or did they just make him inactive? Because from what I understand,
They
it was
said
just.
it was something back related. I mean, he was a late addition to the practice report at the end of the week. And I presume that's probably what happened. Is something happened in practice on Friday and he just wasn't good enough to go today.
Yeah, I think that I just assume he's going to be fine, especially for such an important game. But I think Shane Steichen's message is, look, you need to strap up, make sure that everything is in control, make sure everything is prepped, because this is not only a divisional matchup for against a team that knows you very well. This is against a fellow Coach of the Year candidate. This is against a fellow team that is within your division, and they are ready to avenge that loss early in the season where, let's be honest, Anthony Richardson went out there and destroyed the Texans in his limited time. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and D'Amico Ryans, as great of a defensive mind as he has been and as solid as that defense for Houston's been at times, they had no freaking idea what to do with Richardson. He was on his way to a disgusting game. So I think that you have to be ready for this Texans team. They're going to want to take your head off. Okay. And they're going to go into Lucas Oil ready to win. And so I think that Shane Steichen's going to say 3 things. He's going to say, run the ball well, take care of the football. Gardner didn't turn it over. All right. He's been susceptible to turnovers, and just play sound defense. All right. Keep pressure on that quarterback. They didn't get a lot of pressure on O'Connell. You can't do that against a guy like CJ Stroud. I'm sure that he's going to be ready to go. So it's like, you have to play a little bit better than you did in this game against the Raiders, because no offense to the Colts, but I mean, let's hypothetically say that you got anybody even a little bit better than Aiden O'Connell. They might have been able to pull that out. Okay, so I think the Colts eked out a really important victory here. I'm not going to take anything away from a victory. A victory is a win, and a win is progression towards the playoffs. But you just have to play as possible as you can, mistake-free football. Get those mistakes edged up. Any sort of like areas that are lacking, you gotta tighten them up, because man, as you've seen plenty of CJ Stroud football, Derek. he's going to go out there and he's going to be laser accurate. He's going to be composed in the pocket. He's not going to be easy to sack. He's more mobile than you think. And this is a Texans team that honestly has more talent than people think on paper.
100%. I know that I saw the recap video, Steichen's little victory speech to the team. And, he said that, we got to have the best week of preparation of our entire lives. This is it. Like, this is it. Stay locked in, and this is it. We got to prepare better than we prepared at all times throughout the whole season. This is what it comes down to. You're right. It's a better Texans team than it was when we first met them.
Yes.
And I think that, and for all intents and purposes, I say it's a better Colts team than what it was at the beginning of the year. From all intents and purposes, I know some people disagree with that, but these are different times. These are different measures, and the Colts definitely got to go out there and deliver. But again, the message is the same all week long. You win, you're in, and that's it. We don't have to worry about the Bengals. We don't have to worry about the Steelers. We don't have to worry about the Bills. We don't have to worry about any of these other teams. You just handle business, and then you got yourself a matchup. And who knows, man? Let's say this. So let's say when the Colts win this game against the Texans, who do you see going, and who do you see us going against? Do you see us facing the Dolphins or the Bills? Because whoever wins that game ends up winning the division. And if the Dolphins win it, then that would mean, so if whether the Dolphins or Bills win, most likely they're going to finish with the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So that most likely means that Indy will end up facing either the Bills or the Dolphins in the first round. Who do you have them playing? Would you rather face the Bills or you rather face the Dolphins right now?
After what I saw happen to the Dolphins, I would much rather face the Dolphins right now. This is nothing against Mike McDaniel, but Lamar Jackson, dude, I in some ways, Derek, I cannot believe that the Colts defeated Lamar Jackson at home. I can't believe it. And that was with Mark Andrews still in the lineup. He went out there and had 5 touchdown passes, without Mark Andrews on the field. All right, so yes, give me the Dolphins right now because they are a team that is reeling. Now, they're also a team that's ready to fight, and they're ready to just absolutely pepper somebody. I think that Josh Allen poses more of a threat to the Colts defense than what Tua does. I do think you can manipulate Tua's throws. I think that you can manipulate his game plan. I think that he's not a running quarterback. I think Josh Allen is, and I still say this, he's the closest comp I've seen to Andrew Luck since Andrew Luck. I think that Josh Allen goes out there, he can make all the throws, he can run, he is huge, he's difficult to handle, and if you let him start doing both run and pass, your defensive game plan just starts to fall apart. I think that you can handle Tua, and I think that if you can handle that ground game, which Sean still had 107 rushing yards in that game, I think if you can handle their ground attack, especially without Waddle, who looks really unsure for potentially the postseason here, that's who I want to face. I don't want to face the Bills. I know they've had their ups and downs, but that is still, I think, the most talented team in the AFC East. I still think the Bills are top to bottom, defensively and offensively, the most talented team. And I think Josh Allen is a quarterback that when he gets hot, holy crap, man, you don't want to face him. So I give me the Dolphins all day.
I think I'll have to agree with you, especially after what we just saw
this
week.
56-19, Derek. 56-19.
Yeah, it's the Ravens, and that's the thing too. The Ravens got the top spot on lock. They're going to be running it out there with their backups in this next game. So, the Steelers are most likely going to win that one because the Steelers still have a chance statistically at the playoffs.
They do.
So, there's a lot to go with that. But yeah, it's going to be fun, man. So it's going to be a week long of preparation, and I am super nervous for it, but this is what it's come down to, man. I mean, I'll just say it, man. I never would have thought that the Colts would be in the position to be fighting for a playoff spot in week 18 of the NFL season, and especially fighting it out with the Texans for that 7th spot either. So, I mean, I could this last year at this time, Indy and the Texans were battling it out to see which team could improve their draft spot better than the other. Last year, the Texans beat the Colts and lost out on the number 1 overall pick, but still got.
And then Lovie Smith got fired for winning.
Yeah, and they still got the quarterback that they wanted. So maybe they could spare the Colts this one and just give the Colts a chance here in this one. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all this. Shout out to my guy, Drake, for hopping on here with me. It's always a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.